Welcome to Nerds Amalgamated, a podcast that covers the latest events in science, pop culture, and gaming.
I'm the professor, aspiring game developer, sci-fi aficionado, and completely and undeniably a geek trying to take over the world. I'll be breaking down the news from tech to gaming.
I am the DJ, a humble nerd, a big weeb,
and a watcher from the halls of the multiverse.
Just kidding. Anyways, I'll be breaking down all things comics to movies to anime.
Join us and stay hydrated as we quench you with witty banter, unintentionally hilarious hot takes, and trivia more fun than a night at the pub, courtesy of Nerds Amalgamated.
And welcome to another episode of Nerds Amalgamated. How are you going there, Professor?
I'm fine.
Enjoying a good week?
Enjoying a good weekend.
Hey. Watching the Olympics?
No, the opening ceremony was on at like 2 a.m. our time, so I'm going to watch a rerun of it.
Oh, I saw bits and pieces of it on Twitter, and my God, it looks terrifying.
I have heard that the announcer stumbled and accidentally read off North Korea's name when the South Korean athletes walked through.
that I felt apparently it caused so much outrage they demanded and never a thing happened ever again. I was just shocked at some of the stuff that came out from it, but the only highlight from it was Celine Dion singing, I was like, oh, that's very nice. Although the fact is that she's French Canadian, not actual French, which makes it weird.
They obviously decided she was close enough.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, I've also been looking at some of the Comic-Con stuff that's been announced, and there were some really huge announcements as well, such as the Rings of Power trailer that came out, and the recent Marvel stuff that's been also coming out as well.
I'm just waiting for the Doctor Who spin-off.
Ah, yeah, that's true. But so yeah, BPM is off on his own. He's got some work to do. So, but on to our topic. So this week we've got a live service games model. Is it premature or a permanent thing? The current state of modern comics.
Are you sure you're speaking English right now?
Yes, I am.
Because what you just said makes no sense.
Fair enough. The current
The topic is about publishers abandoning live service games too early.
I know, and whether it's a temporary thing, whether being gone is a temporary thing, or
you're still not making any sense.
All right. The current state of modern comics and Cocaine Shark. So yeah, on to I know, I love that song.
Really?
Uh-huh. But on to our live service games. So what's the topic about?
It's about publishers abandoning their live service games too early. The CEO of Warframe, which is a hugely popular live service game, and it's been around for, I don't know, a decade, 15 years?
Yeah, I'd say so, yeah. 2013, well, close to a decade now, if from the PC launch wise. 2013, March 25th.
Okay, not quite as long as I was thinking. But they released a decade ago, and it's absolutely massive. They have a yearly convention and constant development, while other game developers publish their live service games, and then within a year they're gone, which I think is really having a negative effect on future launches, because who wants to invest time in a game that's going to be gone in under a year?
It makes it sound like your live service games are just a quick rich scheme when you word it like that.
Which a successful live service game is a get quick rich scheme.
And the other problem with live service games is the fact that they get thrown away very short. They get thrown away on the short term because the fans they're not committed enough to the game in supporting the game in a sense.
Yeah, they release the game, and if it's not instantly a massive hit, they pull it. Which, to be fair, the alternative, dumping more money into it,
Hmm.
could be an example of the sunk cost fallacy and be a mistake too. The sunk cost fallacy being the one where you think, I've already spent a ton of money on this project, I should keep it going, even if the project is an utter failure.
Mind you, I'm thinking of Fortnite for some reason with this sort of it's a live service game in a sense, and they dumped a lot of money in, but people still play it nonetheless.
Yeah, they dumped a lot of money into it so people keep playing it. Or did the people keep playing it because they dumped a lot of money into it?
Yeah.
Or did people keep playing it? Do they keep dumping money into it because people keep playing it?
You said the same three times now.
No, I didn't. I did not.
Uh-huh.
I caught myself. I nearly did. And I didn't.
But that's like Fortnite would be a good example of a live service game be also being enduring a long time as well, and
Yeah.
and companies putting a lot of money. So what makes Fortnite that special though? Like it's with for it to survive that long. In the same case with Warframe as well. I mean,
I'm not
besides.
sure.
Hmm.
There's something special about Fortnite that's got people absolutely hooked on it, but I think I'm in the wrong generation because I don't get it. I enjoy Battle Royale. I enjoy building games. I don't enjoy Fortnite.
I mean the amount of skins that came out from that game is insane. Like what was the if I recall they had the Avatar The Last Airbender skin as well.
Yeah, and currently you can get a Cybertruck skin.
Oh damn.
And from what I've heard, there are people posting online saying that they should form a pact to destroy anyone who decides to drive the Cybertruck.
Of course, of course. So what else did the person said about live service games?
Well, it's the CEO of Digital Extremes who make Warframe.
Yeah.
And he said that it's a shame to put in basically he said it's a shame to put in so much effort on building the start of a live service game, and then because it's not instantly successful, getting terrified and ditching it. And he doesn't go into any more detail in this article, but I'm assuming he thinks that if they stuck with it, more games would be successful.
Where he's coming from
And
and oh sorry.
yeah,
Sorry.
I get where he's coming from. It you
Lost
put
you.
in so much effort and then just ditch it when it doesn't work. And yes, it is a bit of a sunk cost fallacy. Why keep throwing good money after bad? But if they gave it half a chance, it might still pick up a cult following who would pay enough to keep the game afloat.
Hmm.
And they're basically raising their chances to actually make any money off the project by shutting it down so quickly.
But here's the problem, though. The gaming atmosphere changes constantly, so it's hard for games to survive. Like even if you put a new game in, unless if it's got like something some new gimmick or a new like let's say if it's something new, it has to be something new every time. Like what like let me put an example. Like McDonald's, for example, like the same menu every time. No, they put in something new into the menu every time to keep customers coming in.
McDonald's also keeps the core menu the same.
They keep the core menu the same, sure, but you have to add in something new every time to keep people coming in. That's the and the atmosphere. And as I was saying, the gaming environment, like the food environment, changes every time. Like things don't stay the same for long. And I see where he's coming from in terms of yeah, you're putting it, yeah, the you're putting a lot of heart and effort into it, but you have they have to come at a point where okay, the current strategy is not working. You have to change up. You see what I mean, Professor?
I don't think you're right. I think there's still room for games that don't constantly try to make new things,
In what
and
way?
you'll form a cult following. People will still play the games and still host their own servers. People are still playing TF2, and that game hasn't had any real updates. You're getting hats, but you're not getting any new maps or changes to the gameplay.
I mean, I understand that part, but with but then TF2, yeah, sure, it's consistent. Yeah, sure, you get the new hats and there's no new maps and stuff, but people kind of go, okay, now I have played TF2 and I played that game. I'm gonna try something new, like maybe Fortnite, for example, or maybe Apex Legends, for example. People like TF2 is kind of like, this is my gateway into a certain genre of a game. And sure, there is a cult following to it, but then at some point the cult following is going to go, gee, I wonder what they're going to come up next.
Or they don't, in the case of TF2, and they just beg for the hackers to be stopped. The other TF2 is a good one too, because Titanfall 2 hasn't received any new content in years, still has a loyal player base.
Hmm.
You don't need to constantly be changing stuff. If you got something good, don't break it. If it works, don't break it.
Then how would you? But then the big question would be, how would you get the funding then? If it's, yeah, sure, if it's good, don't break it. But how are you gonna get the money to survive then? To survive this long? Because like companies like Fortnite, and no, not companies, but games like Fortnite and Warframe, for example, they survive because of the constant income streams they get, like from
Yeah,
the
no shit, Sherlock.
uh-huh.
So where do they get their income stream from then, DJ?
From the gift from the shops, from Steam stores, and even from sponsorships as well, from Twitch streamers playing their games as well.
No, Twitch streamers' sponsorships is a cost, not an income.
Really, even if the Twitch streamer plays the game and makes and brings in the people to play the game, though.
Only if those people are buying something to do with the game.
Okay, okay,
So you sell your microtransactions, you sell your expansion packs, whatever it is,
yeah.
you find a way to sustain your game. You might even rent out servers. You don't have to ditch the game entirely as soon as it comes out and it doesn't become the immediate biggest thing ever.
Yeah, and I also think the reason why live service games don't survive well, it's the marketing aspect of it as well, and how they try and market it to be the next big thing, but then it's poorly marketed that it goes nowhere. Like, what was that? There was a very infamous game that came out that was trying to be the next battle royale, but ended so badly.
Yeah, you're going to have to narrow it down more than that.
Hang on a second.
There have been so many Battle Royale games that have flopped.
Hang on a second. I think it was City Breakers, I think it was called.
Never heard of it.
Hang on a second. Not City Breakers. Hang on a second. There were a couple. So there was Rumbleverse. There was Spellbreak. What was there? Oh, I'm trying to think of something now. Dang, it's not coming to my head. Damn it.
Anyway, I think the big issue is that by abandoning their game so quickly,
Hmm.
they're harming the entire industry. Because you're not going to give a game a chance if you're going to lose all of your investment in less than a year. Like, you invest time, you invest a bit of cash, you want the game to keep going, you want to still be able to play it in 6 months.
Yeah.
If they pull the plug, if they kill the game, stopkillinggames.com, why would you invest the time into it to begin with? That's the same reason why I haven't got into Once Human, because as it is currently, they have a complete server wipe every 6 weeks, and you lose everything, your character, your gear,
Oh, that
and
sucks.
yeah, and which is a shame. They look like they might be changing some of that, so look into it yourself if you're interested. But I was really interested in the art style of that game. It's got some really interesting monsters, but I just can't. I have limited time to play games. I work a full-time job. I have a wife. I'm not going to put time into a game that I'm going to lose everything from.
Yeah, and live service games are also notorious in terms of the develop. It doesn't give create. There's no creativity in a sense.
What do you mean?
I meant as I mean as in like you have given us, but like you once you release a game, then you have then you have to okay, we have to release a season pass, and you're given you're given this certain timeline percent per chance.
Yeah, people seem to like season passes though.
But are the content good when it comes to the season pass? Because some season passes, sure, they have some good content, but others they you just go, what the hell, man? What were you thinking?
Yeah, you've got to make sure the content in your season pass is worth it.
Yeah. Yeah, here we go. I found it. It was Lawbreakers.
Oh, I heard about that one.
Yeah, and how they were trying to make it the next Overwatch, for example. And when Lawbreakers came in, it was yeah, Overwatch just came out, and yeah, people were just going, "What the hell, man?"
That's the other problem with marketing a game,
Yeah,
because you're competing for people's limited free time. It's not a necessity. It's not something they were going to buy anyway.
Hmm.
It's something that they probably already have plans for that free time. So you don't need to just get in the door. You need to take over their free time and push someone else out of the way. But I really think that if they stuck with these live service games a bit longer, they could easily make something worthwhile.
Hmm. By the way, the game designer that was famous for the Lawbreakers game, ever since that game came out, the studio closed, and now the guy behind it is now spending his time with theater and writing. But with the so okay, I have a question for you as a game from a game developer's perspective. How would you stop people from going, okay, live services can potentially be a good thing, but how would you stop them from going, don't make it into a quick rich scheme?
I really don't know. That's a bit beyond my level. I just make the games. I don't market them,
Oh yeah, that's fair. That's
and
fair.
I don't make decisions about where what what effort should be put into it.
Hmm.
It's someone else's decision.
That's fair. That's fair.
And I don't even make the games really because I don't have a game developer job. I just do it as a hobby.
That's fair. That's fair.
Watch this space. Sometime in the next 50 years, I'm going to release a game.
I could totally see you. You'll be the next Gabe Newell.
And I wish. I've got the body type. Can I have the money?
Grow a beard first, then we'll talk.
Gabe didn't always have the beard, and he's lost a ton of weight recently.
Yeah, I noticed that too. But
I also think one big change, though,
yeah.
would be to stop making AAA games and make something a bit smaller.
Hmm.
Something that isn't pushing the absolute limits graphically, isn't the most massive thing, but still has good gameplay, will still hold on.
Yeah.
Like BattleBit Remastered is a Battlefield clone.
Oh
It feels like
yeah.
playing the classic Battlefields.
Yeah. I love those. That's a fun
Yeah.
game.
It is. I've been getting back into that recently. There's still a few thousand people playing that every time I get on. The graphically, nothing to look at, but the gameplay is great.
I think that's why games like Fortnite and Apex Legends are still holding on. Is besides the fact that oh yes, we are collaborating with all these famous franchises, it's also the fact that the gameplay is people still love the gameplay.
Yeah, and the gameplay has mostly stayed the same. They've put in new maps,
Yeah.
but from what I'm aware of, the gameplay of Fortnite has mostly stayed the same for the last. How long has Fortnite Battle Royale been a thing?
Wait, so
At least 5 years, I think.
Fortnite, when has it 2017.
Okay.
It
It's
came
just a
out,
shame they'll never finish the original Fortnite.
yeah.
That was a lot more interesting to me than the Battle Royale was.
Speaking of Battle Royale, have you seen did you hear about Overwatch the other day? What they're doing?
No.
So Overwatch is now going back to the 6 versus 6 battles.
Okay.
So and they're saying, oh, they're wondering whether this would be the yeah, Overwatch 2. Hang on a second. Yeah, it's testing a 6 versus 6 run return, but that alone won't fix the game's biggest problem, according to Windows Central.
Okay, well, I haven't played Overwatch, so I couldn't tell you what the biggest problem is.
Yeah,
Actually, I have played it once, and it didn't hook me.
yeah. The same way it's not comic books are not hooking you.
Oh, you sneaky devil, you changed the order. Is this because you couldn't think of a segue to Cocaine Shark?
No, I couldn't. But speaking of not hooking you in, got a
Hey,
question.
hooking, that would have been a good segue to Cocaine Shark.
Oh,
You missed that one. That's a freebie. You could have had that.
I know. I really suck at segues. Speaking of hooking you in, so how much of a fan of Western comics are you, Professor?
I'm not really a fan of comics at all. I've read most of the Firefly ones.
Yeah.
I've got a couple of others on my bookshelf. I've got Watchmen because people tell me I should really read that one. But
It's
I don't really read comics at all, so no comics, no manga.
really okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. So, a former Marvel executive by the name of Jim Shooter has come out saying the Western comics, as he says it, it's supposed to be entertainment, but a lot of it comes out like propaganda.
Oh boy, here we go again. Another what somebody saying anything I don't agree with politically is propaganda again.
Well, the way he puts it, so he was he made his appearance on the Toy Rat YouTube channel with Tony Mendez during last month's 2024 Heroes Con in Charlotte, North Carolina, where he was asked, "How do you feel about the state of comic book industry today?" Where the comic book veteran replied to him in turn, "I think they forgot what business they're in." It continues by saying, "I think, I don't care if you agree with every word they say. Nobody wants to read propaganda. It's just boring. It's just an awful lot of retconning going on. Like I said, I respect the intent of the creators, and Jack Kirby never intended for Thor to be a girl, and Joe Simon and Jack Kirby are spinning their graves because they turned Captain America into like a Hydra guy or a Nazi or something and revealed he always was. That's just wrong. I mean, don't do that. Stay true to the character." And he continues on by saying, "I used to show people old Lee and Kirby books from the 60s. I had a new writer, let's say on Captain America, and I would go through the first appearance of Captain America, and I think it was Avengers #4, and he comes back very clearly. There's one panel where they're fighting the Submariner, and for some reason, Captain America doesn't remember Submariner from World War II. But Submariner takes him by surprise, and he had him by the belt, and in the small of his back, and he raising it up over his head and dash him to death on the rocks." He continued. "So here's Captain America upside down, being held by the belt, about to die, and his thought is, he's stronger than I am, but I'll find a way to outmaneuver him. That's my guy. I mean, he's just boundless courage. Never say die. He'll find a way." And he continues on by going, "I'm trying to explain to the guy that right away they start writing him like he's Captain Republican or something, and he's not. He represents the ideals of America, not any political stance. But I try to work with the guys, and some of them got out, and some of them got it. Roger Stern got it. He nailed it. As a matter of fact, I think he's one of the best writers we have written. We had some of the good ones, We had J.M. DeMatteis, we had Chris Claremont, of course. We had Simonsons, both of them, Larry Hama, David Michelin, really talented people. And so the ones who really care about it, they got it. And they did what they did with this sculpture, which is to make it true to the original creation. And I think what he's trying to say is that the characters, they should be apolitical in a sense.
Yeah, the guy who dresses up in an American flag and punches Nazis is apolitical. The guy who hunts down corrupt cops is apolitical.
Well, that's what he's saying. I'm not.
Everything is political.
Okay, I'll grant you the fact that everything is political, sure, but everything's also subjective. Art's subjective as well. Wouldn't you agree? Art is
Yeah, art is subjective.
yeah. But but like I also remember there was a clip. There was a famous clip from another person. The problem with comic books nowadays, it's the fact that that the writers nowadays they don't care about the characters of what the character is. It's most of the new writers, like they don't have the love of the old comics, like what Jim Shooter is pointing out. It's now all about how can I put myself in the book, essentially.
So you think that Captain America was never a reflection of Stan Lee's politics?
No, I
Well,
don't
you'd be
think
wrong,
it. How would I? Oh wait, how would I be wrong about it? Like, sure, it was drawing onto Stan Lee's military career. Sure,
because it's literally about punching Nazis.
okay, I mean, sure, but then like, okay, but how would you discern the self? How would you discern then Stan Lee being a self insert and what the message he was trying to portray? Like Stan Lee, like Captain America wasn't a self insert for Stan Lee. Yeah, so like the guy I just put it on the show notes, by the way. He even points out like, yeah, we don't care how would you put yourself in the situation. We care about you're writing this certain character, like you're writing Iron Man. How would you, or you're writing Captain America? You're not writing yourself in the book, essentially. But to move to so the host was pressing the comic curator about what he thought was needed in the comic book industry to pull us to a golden age, and asked a new golden age. To which Shooter asserted, "Well, somebody who knows what he's doing has to be in charge. Where's the next Stan Lee?" Which he affirms that's it. And it has nothing to do with the indies. A lot of them are really interesting. They have really interesting properties and good ideas, stuff like that. But most of them have no training whatsoever, and so they're hard to read, or they're not structured right, or it's just not as good as they could be. And the majors, or what they used to be majors, they're pretty small now. They do have some really good talent, but they don't have anybody steering that ship. So I think he's trying to say like, yeah, the indies are good. The indies have a good thing going, but there's no one steering that ship essentially.
He also has some other points about indies,
Hmm.
like saying that indies don't have enough writing in them. Which
Yeah.
seems like a funny criticism, considering I don't recall the title, but years and years ago, I read quite a meaningful comic that had no dialogue at all.
Yeah. What
I
was the
could not tell you the name to save my life.
Okay, what was the backstory of that comic?
I don't know, it's been 20 years.
Ah,
I did
damn.
read one without dialogue more recently.
Hmm.
Actually, no, it did have dialogue. I'm thinking of a different one. This one, yeah, had minimal dialogue and was first person.
Okay.
It was called something like Daybreak. It was a zombie story.
Is that the one that you showed me years ago?
I might have linked you to it, yeah.
Yeah, I loved that. I loved that comic. That was fun. Where yeah, it was Daybreak. Yeah. That was a fun comic.
So that was actually. I don't think people reading comics want to read a wall of text.
Hmm.
Otherwise, they would be reading books. So that's what I think is an odd criticism.
Hmm.
Like, to me, comics are all about the storytelling of pictures.
Yeah. It's interesting you just say that about pictures and story writing because the person asked, is it because you feel that the reader today isn't really immersing themselves in the storyline, or they just overly concerned with the imagery? Which Shooter replied, those guys, they're just doing stuff that isn't good. It just isn't that good. And it has nothing to do with the readers or too many indies or whatever. It has to do with, they don't know their craft, or they just kind of wrong-headed because they forgot they're in the entertainment industry and not focusing on that first.
Okay, but some heavily political stories can be incredibly entertaining.
Oh yeah, I agree. Yeah,
Anything by Orwell.
oh really? Yeah, I agree. I mean, like what? Watchmen, as you were saying earlier, Watchmen was a good one as well.
Yeah.
Um, if you want to do the modern, if you want to do a modern one, Civil War, for example, that was another good one as well. For
Or
if you're
something
not,
like The Boys is quite political.
hmm.
Like Homelander is literally a ultra nationalist
Yeah.
psychopath, and it's quite funny seeing people who took this long to realize, hey, wait a minute, that guy's like me. I don't like that he's being treated as a bad guy because they're out there.
Um, let's see. Though, and to end it off, he goes. He says. I mean, I don't care if you have you have something to say on some social justice issue. Fine, let the character say it, right? Don't you say it. If it's you preaching at the reader, or if it's the company preaching at the reader, that's propaganda, and you don't want to hear it. If a character states a point of view, that's fine. That's the character's point of view. Ultimately, he reiterated, I think if they get somebody in there who knows what they're doing or sort of steers the ship, that'll be good. That's how he ends it.
So the one thing he keeps going back to is that there's no good leadership.
Which is interesting because I've been I've in researching to this, there was a guy there was a YouTube channel called Comics Explained, and he talks about the Jim Shooter story. And what Jim Shooter has done essentially was he exposed the corruption at the higher ups of the comic book industry, and he was responsible for a lot of interesting things that came out of Marvel Comics in terms of the Marvel Comics before Jim Shooter came in. It was at a low point with the company about to go broke, and when Jim Shooter came in, it got into a good place essentially, like the Dark Phoenix saga, for example, and how Jim Shooter was responsible for that. But then there were a lot of other there were a couple of criticisms to Shooter. For example, how he was criticized for radically reworking Spider-Man's outfit, from changing it from the familiar red and blue costume to the black and white costume, aka the symbiote costume. And he was also hated by a couple of creators for strong editorial content and strict adherence to deadlines.
Strong editorial content.
Oh, control, I meant, sorry.
Oh,
Strong
okay.
editorial control. Sorry. But yeah, despite his success revitalizing Marvel, he was instituting a art return program and his implementation of a policy which gives creators royalties when their books pass certain sales benchmarks, and when characters they worked on were licensed as toys. Shooter still found himself in near constant conflict with some of the writers and artists. Which I'll put a couple of his bios into the show notes. So yeah. But what do you think of his views in general? Like, you reckon he's got a point? You reckon he's kind of wishy-washy in a sense, or?
I don't know because I haven't read like 100 years of Batman or anything to know whether his like I know Batman's DC and he's a Marvel guy.
Yeah.
These stories have been going on and being rebooted for some of them getting close to 100 years now.
Yeah.
So I haven't got enough experience with comics to really say whether his stuff was good.
Hmm.
But I think his points about things being political feel really vague, and they feel like he's just signaling to people who don't like what comics have to say these days.
Hmm.
But then he goes on and says that Captain America isn't Captain Republican, which is sort of the opposite of what I was thinking he was going to say.
Fair enough.
So I'm a bit confused by what he's got to say.
I mean, some of
But
the
strong leadership, yeah.
yeah. I was gonna say. I mean, if you look at the comments of the article, there are some interesting discussions on the topic. But
I stopped after I saw the third one complaining about comics being woke.
yeah, fair enough. I mean, hang on a second. The fifth comment down. That's an interesting discussion. But yeah. Anyways, but at least the comic books are not as crazy as Cocaine Shark is. Still a bad segue, huh?
Yeah.
Dang.
Yes, you've heard of Cocaine Bear. Get ready for Cocaine Shark, which apparently is already a movie.
I still cannot believe it. Someone actually did that.
I guess we shouldn't be surprised that sharks are getting into cocaine, but scientists have actually taken sharks and discovered that they have high levels of cocaine in them.
I mean, cocaine is one hell of a drug.
Yeah, it makes me wonder what the effect this has on sharks. Does it make them more aggressive? It's still like early days. The study is basically just, hey, we found cocaine. We should look into this. Apparently, Brazil is a major exporter of cocaine.
That totally makes sense.
Yeah, so that explains how it's getting into the water. It's coming from cocaine labs and lost cargo. But how is it affecting the sharks and the other wildlife? Are we seeing, like, we know cocaine isn't good for you.
Yep.
So are we going to see. Hold on.
Yeah.
Someone's going down my street just going, honk, 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 honk.
Oh no! Oh no! It's the drug cartels. They found you. Run, run, Professor, run.
They'll never take you alive. It's also interesting because cocaine has a short half life, which means that the sharks are eating the cocaine themselves. It's not like something like mercury, which builds up in the food chain.
Ah, can you imagine being one of the fishermen and they caught this cocaine shark and they start eating it and they go, "Look, I'm getting higher from this thing. What's going on?"
Can't imagine that being very fun.
Oh. Although it's interesting how they're doing it on a certain breed of sharks.
Yeah, the Brazilian sharp-nosed shark.
Yeah.
That doesn't necessarily mean that it's not in other sharks, though.
Yeah, I'm just wondering. Let's see. I wonder how a great white shark would do on the effects of cocaine.
I don't want to find out. Great whites are scary enough as it is.
Uh-huh. I mean, but back to the whole back to the whole shark meat being a food source. You're right in terms of it has a half life. Cocaine has a short half life, and it's not like mercury. Do you remember the stories of mercury poisoning in food and how it affected people?
Yeah, yes, I'm well aware of how mercury affects people.
Yeah, and
Heard a lot about it.
yeah, and there was a. I remember years ago there was a case of there was a case where tuna was found with high levels of mercury. They even named a disease after it. It was called the Minamata disease, which is a neurological disease caused by severe mercury poisoning.
Oh yeah, that was in Japan, wasn't it?
Yeah, yeah. Let me check. It was 1959. Yeah, 1959. There was a problem with that. Well, actually, it was not 1959. Yeah, Minamata disease was first discovered in the Minamata Kumamoto prefecture. Hence its name. It was caused by a leak of methyl mercury in the industrial water, and someone suggested some of the mercury sulfate in the wastewater were metabolized to methyl mercury by bacteria, and this highly toxic chemical bioaccumulated and biomagnified in shellfish and fish in Minamata Bay, which was eaten by the local population as a result in mercury poisoning. The poisoning resulted in deaths of both humans and animals, continued for 36 years. Ugh. The animal effect was severe enough in cats that came to be named as having dancing cat fever.
Interesting name.
Yeah. So why doesn't when you have this type of problem in with fish in Japan, how come we're not seeing this level in Brazil? Like with isn't the same similar sort of chemicals are made with making cocaine, or is it a totally different situation?
Think there's any mercury in cocaine?
But there will be a bucket load of other chemicals that are as potent as mercury, wouldn't it?
It's not good for it's just not good.
Yeah, yeah.
Like they use petrol to make cocaine.
Ugh. Just reminds me of those cigarette ads. They'll say like, "What's inside a cigarette?" Like, oh, these cigarettes they have they have chemicals inside that has petrol that are used for petrol.
Yeah, although it's important to remember that um, just because a chemical is dangerous in one form doesn't necessarily mean that it's dangerous in another form.
Hmm.
Like mercury is particularly dangerous in its methylmercury form, but in its elemental and in the form of thimerosal, I think it's called, it's actually not that dangerous to people.
Hmm. And the other thing is, people are only wondering is how will this affect the sharks in the environment? Well, the sharks and the environment surrounding the sharks. I mean, the sharks. I mean, there's going to be other animals that'll be animals and sea creatures that'll be affected by this as well.
Yeah,
Anyways, we sh- we should we go, should we go on to the shoutouts?
we should.
Yep. Anyways, we'll be back after a small break, and we'll be back with the shout outs and our wacky movie. So on to our shout outs, which we talk about the nerdy things that happened in the week. On the 12th of July 2024, Noriko Ohara passed away. So this beloved voice actress known for iconic roles as Nobita in Doraemon and the Ronjo in Yataman has passed away on July 12th at the age of 88. Her Agency 81 producer announced in a statement, actress Noriko Ohara, real name Noriko Tobey, passed away peacefully on July 12th after battling illness. She was 88 years old. In accordance with her family wishes, the funeral service was held privately. We extend our deepest gratitude for your support during her lifetime. On the 24th of July 1969, the Apollo program, which was the Apollo 11, splashed down safely in the Pacific Ocean. After a flight of 195 hours, 18 minutes and 35 seconds, about 36 minutes longer than planned, Apollo 11 splashed down in the Pacific Ocean, 13 miles from the recovery ship USS Hornet. Because of bad weather in the target area, the landing point was changed about 250 miles. Apollo 11 landed 13 degrees 19 minutes north latitude and 169 degrees 9 minutes west longitude, July 12th, 1969. During the splashdown, Columbia landed upside down but was righted within 10 minutes by flotation bags activated by the astronauts. A diver from the Navy helicopter hovering above attached the sea anchor to prevent it from drifting. More divers attached flotation collars to stabilize the module and positioned rafts for astronauts' extraction. The divers then passed biological isolation garments, with the acronym BIGS, to the astronauts and assisted them to the life raft. The possibility of bringing back pathogens from the lunar surface was considered remote, but NASA took precautions at the recovery site. The astronauts were rubbed down with sodium hydrochlorate solution, and Columbia wiped with providone iodine to remove any lunar dust that might be present. The astronauts were winched on board the recovery helicopter. Bigs were worn until they reached isolation facilities on board Hornet. The raft containing decontamination materials was intentionally sunk. After touchdown on Hornet at 17:53 UTC, the helicopter was lowered by the elevator into the hangar bay where astronauts will walk to a 30 feet to the mobile quarantine facility, where they would begin the Earth-based portion of their 21 days quarantine. This practice would continue for two more Apollo missions, Apollo 12 and 14, before the moon was proven to be barren of life, and the quarantine process dropped. Nixon welcomed the astronauts back to the Earth. He told them, "As a result of what you've done, the world has never been closer together before." And yeah, that's my crappy Nixon impersonation. So on to our messed up moments in nerddom. Professor, what have you got this time?
I have Project 4.1.
Uh-oh. I have a bad feeling about this.
Well, do you know about the test Castle Bravo?
No?
It was an American nuclear weapons test.
Uh-huh. Something tragic happened in that thing, didn't it?
Very.
Uh-oh.
After the bomb was detonated,
Mm-hmm.
fallout began drifting upwind towards the Marshall Islands. Instead of telling the people there was a danger, the scientists behind it were like, hey, we could study this.
Oh boy.
Yep. For the next decade, they noticed an upturn in the number of miscarriages or stillbirths, and then they noticed that children were not growing as much because they were also getting thyroid cancer.
Oh Jesus.
Yep. Studies say that around half of all cancer cases recorded on the Marshall Islands could be attributed to the 1954 test.
Oh, I'm still waiting for the messed up part.
How was that not messed up enough for you?
There has to be something more messed up than than this. I mean, damn, the fallout is just insane.
Yeah, putting tons of people at risk just so you can study them.
Oh, yeah, I'm seeing. I've seen. There's one bit that struck to me, and that's controversy continues. However, fed by the legacy of mistrust sown at the American nuclear testing in the Marshall Islands. Um, while most sources do not think that the exposure was intentional, there is no dispute that the U.S. did carefully study the exposed Marshallese, but never obtained informed consent for the study from the study subjects. Oh, that's messed up. So, what other results did they get from this project?
Um, I'm not actually sure what the benefit of the study was.
I can think of a benefit. Yeah, stop using nuclear weapons, guys. It's not helpful to anyone.
Yeah, but we knew that. Did we really have to put that many people at risk?
Yeah, okay, yeah, that's true. Yeah, yeah. Uh, On to our wacky movie. Which we talk about the movie, the wacky movie that came out. Which was on the 24th of July, 1992. Mom and Dad Saved the World premiered. This movie came out back then, and did not exactly score any rave reviews nor forgiving audiences. This was directed by Greg Beeman, the sci-fi comedy starring Terry Garr, Jeffrey Jones, and John Lovitz. And this is the plot summary. Emperor Todd Spengo sees Marge Nelson and using a giant magnet kidnaps her and her husband Dick, hoping to make her his bride before blowing up the Earth. He and other inhabitants of his planet are somewhat less than bright, and Dick begins reliving episodes of Flash Gordon and Buck Rogers in order to rescue Marge, save the Earth, and restore the rightful king to the throne. This was filmed 1990s, but released in theaters in 1992. It was pulled from theaters just after 1 week. Eric Idle is a member of Monty Python. Screenplay co-writer Ed Solomon is the ex-son-in-law of Python member John Cleese. Chris Matheson and Ed Solomon had previously written Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure and Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey together, and would go on to write Bill and Ted Face the Music together as well. And John Lovitz was forced to quit Saturday Night Live to work on this film. Originally, the film was to be shot during the summer break between seasons, but when shooting overlapped for 2 weeks, Lorne Michaels told Lovitz he couldn't miss a single week of SNL, so he had to make a choice. Convinced that the film was going to be a box office hit, Lovitz stayed on until the production wrapped. Lovitz attributed the film's abysmal box office performance to the film being edited to be more family friendly. So that's all we have for this week. Where can they find us, Professor?
All the usual places you find podcasts. Check out our shorts on YouTube. We're on Twitter, Facebook. Anywhere else? I think that's it.
Yeah, that's fair. Anyways, yeah, stay happy, stay nerdy. Peace out.
Look after yourselves, stay hydrated, and we'll see you next week.